This is Carolina This Week. Carolina This Week with Tim McGinnis.
Good morning and welcome to Carolina This Week. I think the two big political headlines this past week were, of course, the debt ceiling deal reached in Washington, but possibly more important for Horry County and the PD was the 7th Congressional District, which Governor Nikki Haley visited Myrtle Beach to sign into law this past week. And joining me this morning is Joe Dugan, who's the chair of the Myrtle Beach Tea Party. And Joe, you've been at this for, we were just talking before we started rolling, maybe a little over 2 years or not quite 2 years yet. You've come a long way in 2 years.
Tax day 2009.
Yeah, tax day 2009, so that was April 15th, circa April 15th, 2009.
Yeah.
In that time, just to give some perspective on what the Tea Party, Myrtle Beach Tea Party has done in particular, a member of the Myrtle Beach Tea Party is now the Horry County Republican Party chairman.
That's correct.
We have 5 congressmen in South Carolina who are all affiliated with the Tea Party, and at least 1 senator who's affiliated with the Tea Party.
And we are just so proud of them. It is. I'm proud to be a South Carolinian with the people that are been elected to state offices and these wonderful congressmen who will stand up for what the people believe and the promises they made. I'm just thrilled with it.
The button you're wearing on your shirt, in case you can't read Joe's button, says PD wants the 7th District, and a lot of those buttons and t-shirts to that effect were worn over the past several months as the redistricting fight really happened, where there were a series of public hearings in towns across South Carolina to talk to the committees that were drawing up the district lines from both the House and the Senate, encouraging them to make Horry County its own district along with the PD, including Florence County, Georgetown County, Dillon County, Chesterfield County. I'm forgetting some counties, Marion County. It happened.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And it was justified because over the past 10 years, Horry County alone has experienced 37% growth. And that's in a decade where the housing market fell apart, at mid-decade. Had the housing market not fallen apart, we would have experienced 75,000 or 75% growth. And I believe that Carolina Forest had something like 500% growth in that period. So when our economy recovers and people in the north can start selling their McMansions, they're going to be coming down to South Carolina, and we're going to have a population explosion. So it's really important that the 7th District went to the PD in Horry County.
Of course, you have no beef with Tim Scott, who we will be losing as a representative here in Horry County.
I have absolutely no beef with Tim Scott. I love Tim Scott, as I do the other congressmen, and I would like to think that when we elect a new congressman for the 7th District, that he will graduate from the graduate school of Mulvaney, Duncan, Scott, Gowdy, and Wilson.
Are you looking at candidates that the Myrtle Beach Tea Party will support for that 7th District seat?
Not specifically yet, Tim, because we still have to go through the federal courts for this 7th District. It has to be approved by the federal courts. But this was another reason why we got so many people out to testify at both the Senate and House redistricting hearings, because that testimony will travel with the new district plans to whatever court it goes to. And they are obliged, I believe, to read that input.
You've met with Governor Haley several times. In fact, when Governor Haley was here to sign the bill on Monday, I know a lot of news video footage pictured you up there with the governor and pictured members of the Myrtle Beach Tea Party. Obviously, she has Tea Party support.
Absolutely, absolutely. As do most of the officers in the state. You will recall that during the 2010 campaign, we had a list of 10 candidates that we printed on the back of our business cards that were all endorsed by the Myrtle Beach Tea Party. And when election day, when the polls closed, every single one of those people on the back of that business card was elected to office, and that was from Senator DeMint, Governor Haley, Curtis Loftus, down to Joe DeFeo on the school board, and it was a fabulous campaign technique. It worked wonderfully.
What's the big thing that the Myrtle Beach Tea Party, the Tea Party in general, what is it spending that is it spending that the Tea Party is targeting? Is it any particular issue? What is it that the Tea Party is standing for that the Republicans and Democrats weren't for Tea Party members?
Okay, it's a number of things, and to try and describe it in its entirety is impossible, because most Tea Party members are individual Americans and they have their own ideas. There are shared values, and those shared values are the Constitution of the United States. We believe in strict enforcement of the Constitution, and we are against government control. Thomas Jefferson was the first proponent of keep the government small, and we have forgotten his words. When the government gets large and gets its hands in everything, it stifles business. And everybody asks about jobs. Well, the government has proved with stimulus after stimulus that they cannot create jobs. They have burdened business people with regulations, the Dodd-Frank bill and others, and small businessmen are suffering the most because the larger businesses have an export business. And we are, through the Federal Reserve, devaluing the dollar by buying so many treasuries. The Federal Reserve is out of control. And in the last year, since June of 2010, the dollar has declined 17%. Well, what that means to me as a retiree is that if I had $1,000 in the bank, not only do I not get any interest on it, but I've lost $170 in purchasing power. And that's a decrease in the standard of living for everyone in the country. So one of the Myrtle Beach Tea Party's big things right now is education. The population of this country, and as other people will disagree, but the population of this country has been fed a stream of news that is totally focused. It's not balanced at all. And if that's all they hear, that's all they're going to know. We were delighted 2 weeks ago to put on a seminar at Rotelia's restaurant up here, where we had Mr. Lawrence Spivak talk over 2 nights for 7.5 hours on economic literacy. And he did a wonderful job, because he made a complicated subject very, very easy for ordinary people to understand through his use of analogies that we could all understand.
I'm not an economic expert, but I do understand that you can't spend more than you have coming in. And we are at a point where we're $14 trillion in debt. Now, there are arguments about how we amass that debt through unfunded wars and through tax rollbacks. Some people would say that those tax breaks for people making over $250,000 need to be done away with. The loopholes need to be closed. That's one of the chief arguments I hear against Tea Party Republicans, is that no new taxes, but we need to get rid of the tax breaks that were given at one point. How do you stand on that?
Well, I think you certainly could find cases where tax breaks have been given to people and they need to be taken away. There are some 700 pages a year added to our tax laws, and of those 700 pages, it's full of loopholes. But as far as the argument for taxing people making $250,000, those are your small businesses that create jobs. It's the small businesses, the restaurants, the hotels, all the entrepreneurs that built this country through small business. those are the people, if you take their money away in tax dollars, they can't reinvest it and hire another person.
But there are cynics out there who would say they're not going to take that savings and reinvest it. They're going to take that savings and put it in their pocket.
Okay, and I would say that in many cases that is true, and the reason that it is true is that our business community is scared to death. They don't know what the taxes are going to be next year. They don't know how much Obamacare is going to take out of their business. So they hesitate in hiring the next person. And the banks where they would go to for loans. Do you know, Tim, that today the 30-year Treasury note, its interest rate fell below 4%? Now, you see all the signs of inflation around you. You see higher gas prices, higher food prices, and so forth. Tell me, if you're a banker, are you going to give somebody a 30-year loan at fixed 4% interest rate when you can see the decline in the dollar and the inflation ramifications of that? You wouldn't be in business long if you operated your business that way.
So the Tea Party would like to make business easier to be conducted.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We're very much in favor of the government getting out of business's way and letting it operate. That's what made us so successful as a nation. And all this encroachment and all these regulations and all these new laws, never mind the taxes, you know, that's a whole different subject, but just the burdens. There was something in the health care bill that said that every businessman had to file a 1099 form for any transaction over $600. Do you know how much paperwork that adds to a small business? I think it may have been taken out of that bill, but it was in the bill that was passed that nobody was allowed to read.
Joe, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about taxes, and I want to talk about what you think about a fair tax. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with Joe Dugan, the chair of the Myrtle Beach Tea Party.